Why, hello my friends, and welcome back to another episode of Eggwars. Shout out to my lovely person who I love so much, Sensual Heretic. I'm rocking her shirt today with the fucking fucked up cat that I fucking fucked up. When I drew this however long ago, people said it looked like a goddamn Wojak cat. And also, this is in a small size, because when I drew this shirt however many months ago, I bought Walmart totally out of white shirts that I was drawing on, so I had to buy one. I had to buy a couple smaller size, and so I don't look too shitty. I got my little pullover zip-up sweatshirt on today, too. But I still probably look like shit anyway, because I kind of that's just how I'm rocking today. But thank y'all for tuning in once again. Shout out to everybody tuning in. Much love to you. You're awesome. You're the best. Could not do it without you. We're just about to almost hit 3,900 people that subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's crazy. We're just on the cusp of a lot of things. We're on the cusp of 4,000 subscribers. We're on the cusp of my 26th birthday. Oh, good Lord. I don't know how to feel about that, but what I do know how to feel is that we still got plenty of the regular old OG white sips in the motherfucking house. So let's go ahead and crack that bad boy. Ooh, ooh, ooh. The palm. That little drop always gets on the palm, but you gotta just, waste not, want not, There's probably like a milligram of caffeine rounded up in that little drop. Alright. You might be able to tell I'm actually hydrated today, so I'm not jumping right into it with a huge gulp. We're gonna pace ourselves. I'm gonna need a lot of sips today. A lot of little breaks to collect myself. So I'm gonna talk about something that's really gonna get me worked up probably. But in any case, before we go any further, we gotta announce who is the copy of Neckbeard's winner from Eggwars 39. Yes, this is also Eggwars 40 shit. There's another thing. There's another, ooh, boom, 40 episodes. Holy shit. Alright, so the copy of Neckbeard's, of this last one, goes to Raxa, R-A-X-A, with the comment, Eggy going in on the elderly in this video. Yes, indeed, you know how I do. Boomer doomers in the house. We don't like those boomers. They need to shut up. Oh, I don't like them. But congratulations, R-A-X-A, Raxa. I assume that's how you pronounce your name. Make sure to message me your Steam info. We'll get you that copy of Neckbeards for your gaming pleasure. Okay, what are we going to talk about today? Oh boy, don't know how I'm gonna do this today, but I've racked the brain for a few different things. I had somebody suggest to me they should say, talk about sort of my disjointed, well, I don't know, with me and my having, with my situation with my father and how I never really have known him, and how, I had the chance. I went over this in the video last year because I actually did a video right after I had met my father for the first time in person. And I was at my grandfather's funeral, and it was a very emotional experience for me because we both basically refused to speak to one another. We both basically were like, I wasn't going to talk to him if he didn't talk to me, and vice versa. We have had a couple email communications since then. Not really. I don't think I've talked to him now since January, email-wise probably, but it's there. But, it basically, the connection, it was like, it was this thing where it was, maybe there's, maybe we'll, talk to each other. When I was a kid, I was always curious. I thought maybe he was secretly like a billionaire, and, maybe he was going to give me some kind of cool, tank or something. When I turned 18, maybe he'd be like, I don't know. I just had these weird thoughts and stuff when I was a kid, and then, it turned out that basically, he's very much just like, just like me, pretty much just kind of autistic, and has lived in seclusion for decades now, and basically never was involved, after he was kind of out of my life with anybody, really. So, but I don't really want to go into that yet. When I did film that video about it last year, which was just in my car, it's not even marked with any particular thing. I don't even remember what the hell I called it, but I was basically just driving and I recorded, and I was just upset about it at the time. But that's something I'm not really trying to get into yet. That's kind of That's a bit much, and I don't know. I don't even know if I really want to talk about a lot about it. But anyway, I have something else that also kind of grinds on me in the wrong way. And but today I'm gonna try and bite that off and chew it up, that topic. And so I'm gonna talk about what is the future for me. What does my future look like? And I want to say right now, I might go off on some tangents. This might not be the most positive video, so I'm just gonna tell you that right now. I can't apologize for if I do that, because this is just a topic that has a tendency to just really rub me the wrong way, because I don't like to think about it, obviously. But let's just start from the beginning. We'll kind of work our way up here. So, if you know about me, I also have a tendency to be very upset as far as discussing schooling. You know, I was never a good student, ever. I mean, ever. I was never a good student. I pretty much was continuously in detention and all these different things from just about as early as I possibly could be. I was in detention almost every single day, all the way back in elementary school. And then moving forward, you know, I was threatened with being held back, and I was just never a good student. And then I was in special education, and even when I was in special education, I still wasn't a good student. So I was getting ran down on by the fucking what do you call them? The herders, the helpers, the whatever handlers. You know, were running down on me all the time and saying, "God damn it, you weren't in class today. You didn't do your homework. You know, blah 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 blah." You know, and it basically got to the point where, I mean, I have to commend the special education program, although, you know, I've discussed in the past a couple of the, issues that I had with it, and how I felt like it wasn't, you know, they did less as time went on, but at the same time, what they did do, I mean, they really beat my ass into shape in the way that I need, because I was just a bad student. Like, I would just, you know, go to class and do nothing continuously, but if they sicked the handlers on me, you know, they would fucking pull me out of class. They would force me to go to, like, one of the special education chambers for however long, and basically fucking sit there and stare at me and be like, "Do your fucking work, you lazy, no good piece of shit. You fucking sleeping in class every single day, no good motherfucker. Do your goddamn work." I mean, I had this one dude who I had a teacher, and he was a science teacher. He was a cool dude, but he didn't take any BS, and so he actually at one point he diagnosed me in front of the class. He said, "Mills has African sleeping sickness," because we were talking about parasites or something. And one of the things that came up was African sleeping sickness. And of course, I was like this in class every single day, you know, I'd walk into class and I would put my face down up to the desk, you know, you'd feel the moisture of breathing onto the desk or whatever, and have my hands like this. This would be me in every single class from start to finish, like as much as I could possibly do it. Because I hated school, and I always have. And so I just wasn't a good student. I've told this before. I would never have even graduated high school if I hadn't gone to opportunity school, and they essentially forced me through, because I wasn't a criminal. I didn't have a criminal record. I wasn't expelled from anywhere. I hadn't faced expulsion. And they're like, "Well, shit, we need to keep our class sizes from getting too big. You know, we have all these people trying to get into this place, and you're just a fucking rebellious little shithead who won't do your work, and you refuse to do anything in class. But we know." They gave me like a couple tests at the end of the year, and they were like pass-fail tests, and they're like, "Okay, well, you obviously know everything that you're talking about. You just refuse to contribute to class or anything at all. So, okay, whatever, you pass." And I got my degree when I definitely should not have graduated high school, but I did. And then, you know, I was out of school for a couple years. You know, I've mentioned this before. My parents told me to go to college. I said I don't wanna, but I did end up going to college after a couple years after I'd been out of high school. And I failed. I failed out of college, but that's just because it was the same sort of thing. Like, I would go there, and I don't know, maybe it's anxiety. It could be anxiety, but I know that I'm lazy enough at the same time. If I took, like, all online courses, well, I shouldn't say that exactly, because I have taken some Udemy courses and completed them, and some that I have gotten and not completed, but I would go to class, and I would just be fucking just like, I don't know, it's so weird. It's like, I get like an anxious, nervous feeling, and it then like initiates this sort of like angry response in me, I guess is the best way I could put it, which is also how I get when people basically bring this topic up to me, and I don't know, stirred in me a little bit recently, and I don't want anybody to take this the wrong way, because like I don't mean this in a bad way, but people just like for some reason also recently, maybe it's because I've gotten a little more attention lately and some more, new subscribers and stuff lately, and people are like, well, what are you getting out of the YouTube thing? You do the YouTube thing and you're doing this, and what is that? Is that going to be what you do? Are you planning on, like doing some merchandise or whatever? And I always like, my go-to response is like, I would consider like a Patreon or a Hatreon or whatever. If I feel like the content that I'm making is just like, it's so good that it has to, it's like, that's just like something you would expect, because there's people out there who make like good videos with good editing, and you watch it and you're like, oh, this is good, this is whatever. And so it's like, if I felt that way about what I do, then okay, maybe I would feel comfortable, because I did that. I did have one last year, because I was sitting there like, when I was unemployed, I was like, every day I was like, oh shit, I want to learn something new, and I was trying out different stuff, and I was like, okay, I feel at ease with that. But I don't feel like that's something now. I mean, sure, maybe a lot of people enjoy the videos, and I hope they do, and I hope a lot of people are having a good time with it. But I don't think that anything I do is, is something that, I don't know, that's just me. That's just how I feel about it, and that's basically where I've left it at. But, even my own family has mentioned, they're like, well, obviously I haven't had luck with finding, another wage slave job, and it's really weird. Like, really the best thing I could probably say about it is, and what would encapsulate my current feelings, we'd have to go back a couple years from now, because a couple years ago, following the whole Oregon situation, I had moved following that, and I was going to kind of get a new start on things. I was kind of taking a new lease on life. I was going to try some new shit out. And what happened was, it was in October, because I basically, after the Oregon situation, I moved. I decided I was going to move somewhere, so I got a job somewhere. Well, St. Cloud. I got a job in St. Cloud. And so I decided, all right, I'm going to move to St. Cloud. So I did all that. I got in, I had, everything was pretty much situated, and I started my job that I was working in St. Cloud, and the job turned out to be sort of a scam job. It wasn't a real, I was duped, essentially, so I didn't get paid what I was supposed to for this job, and, which this then led to a lot of anger, because what I did then is, once I realized I wasn't going to get paid, and I was going to be fucked up on my bills, I was like, oh shit. I made a video called like fundraising, and I was like, oh hey guys, yeah, you want some voice work, you want a video, $5-10 or whatever, because otherwise I'm about to be like way fucked. And a bunch of people like, oh, you leave, you said, oh, I'm done with this shit, and you delete your YouTube channel, and then you come back and you're fucking e-begging, you piece of shit, and rightfully so. But then, then following that, didn't really go anywhere. Then that was when I started the 80-hour work week. In December then of 2015, which went on, through, towards the, beginning of June then of 2016. I did that for way too fucking long. And so when I was doing that, that sort of work week, or whatever you want to say, that sort of work schedule, anybody who would look at that lifestyle, they would be saying, hey, that is not sustainable. That's not a sustainable lifestyle for me. But my mindset when I was doing that was, it's a mindset that I've had quite a few times in my life. And going back to, probably, it was actually the first time that I adopted this particular mindset was after I had failed out of college. When I failed out of college, that's when I got my first double job life. I was working at a grocery store, and I was working at a gas station. And neither was full-time, but they would amount to usually about 70 hours a week between the two. And I did that for some time, and I adopted this mindset where I was like, I'm a fucking failure, I can't fucking do school, I just can't do anything, but I can, I have the ability to basically endure these long hours of retail wage slavery. I kind of just hardened my heart, hardened my soul, and just whatever, I basically just go and fucking bang my head into a wall for 70 hours a week. And I did that for several months initially until I got my job working nights, and I didn't need to do the 2-job life anymore. And so people just, my family, because it was like a good couple months that I worked nights and also still my grocery store job, and my family were like, you don't need to do this. What are you doing? And I say now it's good because that was the money that built this computer, which I still use. My peripherals, my microphone and all that, that extra money did come in handy to, still to this day. But that was my mindset when I went into that 80-hour work week, a couple years ago. I was like, well, I try, look at me. I wake up every morning and I look myself in the mirror and I'm like, God damn, I feel like such a goddamn worthless piece of shit. I couldn't do school. I couldn't fucking do it. I'm a dumb idiot. And so what can I do that's going to prove my life is worth something? I'm just going to work as much as possible. And so that's what I did. I started working these long hours and it was going nowhere. Both of my jobs, well, I shouldn't say that. The cell phone support job that I had, I never really got negged there at all. I did have one really bad customer experience with a guy that was out of state, and he was like doing all this weird shit, and he was like, his stuff was probably stolen, but I didn't have any big, like, concrete red flags, so I kind of still helped him, and then, like, my manager was like, oh, were you helping a guy? I think he was reported stealing stuff, so that was, like, the only bad experience I had at my cell phone support job. But at my gas station job that I was working also, a couple years ago, I was getting treated like shit continuously. I was told I was the worst employee that the store had ever had, even though I was assistant manager. The manager told me, he's like, I've been managing this store for like over 20 years and you are the worst, most awful piece of shit. And the reason why he told me this is because we had this high turnover rate, and it wasn't even me. I had no involvement in it. The people would come into the store, and he would be like, he would talk to me and be like, if these people were working under me, they would be scared for their life to not show up for work. You are such a fucking no good piece of shit. You're the worst employee, da-da-da. And so it was obviously not going to be sustainable for me to work, at least that job for sure, because by the time I ended up quitting there to go to my more decent job, which I was then, fired from and all that, they basically had my neck on the chopping block. Like, he was, every single day that I would go into work there, he would just be ready to just tear into me over anything. So that wasn't going to be sustainable. None of that was going to be sustainable, you know what I mean? But this goes to show another sort of issue that I have in my life is that anytime I can think of, I never look at anything in the long term. I continuously am taking things in short-term segments, you know what I mean? That's because if you told me what am I going to be doing right now in 5 years, I would tell you I very well might be dead in 5 years. Like, that's just how I feel. Fuck. I don't want to say in 1 year because I don't want to sell myself too short. I think I could see myself sitting here and doing random, basically what I've done for like the last year-ish of like streams, videos, music, whatever, even if it's still not groundbreaking and whoa, taking the world by storm, I can still see myself doing that for like another year. But even 3 years, I don't know if I'll make it to 30 years old. I couldn't tell you that, to be honest. I don't know. Like, I go through periods of time where I'm just, I get emotional about things. I have anger issues. Sometimes I'm just not the most emotionally stable. Right now, people ask me, they're like, well, hey, I don't know. The thing is like, I applied for a bunch of jobs. I don't even want to I'm kind of getting ahead of myself. So I did all this, I worked all these hours and, I had my own place and, there was times where I was doing a couple things here or there. I was able to go, have a day or two off every now and then. Even working the hours I was, there was still some times where I was able to have a day or two off. And I could afford to go to the park I went to like a haunted house festival in October of that year. Well, actually, no, I did that, but that was actually that was before I had gotten paid for like the first month that I worked at my scam job. I got paid, and then they like basically did like the bailing on me and not paying me anymore. So I guess that's not a good example because that was before I was working these hours. But there was stuff that, I went to the Trump rally that one time, and there was stuff where, when I wasn't working so many hours, I would have a day off and I had disposable income and all the bills were paid and all this stuff. But at the end of all this, going on, I got the nice job that I had, then I got fired from there, and it was just like totally, starting in July of 2016, August, September, it was just all these boom, 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 life just beating the absolute shit out of me. Oh my God, like, to an extent of which I still have not recovered, is basically what I'm getting at. Like, when all that happened, me losing, everything being so good, everything was just perfectly in place, like May and June of 2016 was just, everything was perfect. I had the job that I wanted, and I was seeing my ex-girlfriend at the time, and she had the job that she wanted, and all the bills were paid, no worries in the world. We were going on picnics, and we were doing all this good stuff, and everything was just, it was everything I had worked for, that was the life, you know what I mean? That was just everything I could have asked for. I mean, yeah, I had the podcast, didn't work out, and blah, 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 whatever, but I wasn't doing YouTube videos, really. I started doing them again, I think, in June of 2016 with, like, when I was driving home from work, I would hold my phone up and do a little car video and talk about how my day was, or whatever the case might be. But everything was just so good, and everything was just the way that, that was the life, to be in a relationship, and we're both having our good jobs, and, we're able to do what we want to do. We're having our weekends off. That is, to me, would be like, if I could bring, obviously, the following events in this particular situation were turned into a living hell, but if I could just, like, capture that month and a half period and just, draw that out for however long, hey, bliss. But it didn't happen like that, obviously. My jobs, it was, once again, well, it was really another scam job, because it was, the scam they were doing at this job would be, after when you got to 3 months, you got a big pay bump up, and you got insurance, and you got all the benefits and everything, but they didn't want to pay that, so it would be, I was one of the last people hired on, when I got hired on, because they did, like, they were doing a hiring thing. And I was also, by the time I got fired, there was maybe one other person that had been hired before me that was still working there. So they were basically, they'd hire people for like a couple months and then just fire them all. And so that happened, and, I was hurting, because I was like, God damn, that was so good. And, and everything just, you can go back on the First Last channel and piece some of these videos up, and kind of see what was going on. But, it was basically just, hope, or, heartbreak, hopelessness, just tumbling down and tumbling down and tumbling down until, I basically just lost my mind. I totally just fucking freaked. And then I was in the hospital, and I had to get everything out of my apartment, and all that shit happened. And I come back, and I moved, and I started living with my aunt, and I was like, living in the basement like I am now. And I was like, okay, it was horrible, I had been through so much bullshit, but I was like, you know what, I'm gonna just heal up on it, I'm gonna recover, I'm gonna restabilize, I didn't want to live in this basement for more than, at the time, I was like, thinking maybe 2 or 3 months, I was, by the end of 2016, I was ready to be back out, trying to do my own thing, trying to get back to whatever. Then it was like, okay, well, all right, now it's going to be by January, and then I did Streamist, and I was like, okay, well, now maybe, in another month or two, and it's just kind of continued on. But where it's at now, frankly, just everything that happened, I felt like I put everything that I had left in me as far as hope. And I'm talking about like realistic shit, because I'm still down to just make YouTube videos and whatever, and talk, and however long I could do this. If I could somehow just do this for like another 10 years and not have it get like, caught up anywhere, which I don't think that's very realistic. But if that were the case to happen, hey, I wouldn't necessarily be against that. Maybe one day I'll have, 1 million subscribers. We could dream big, or, maybe I'll get a recording contract somewhere, even just as a broadcaster, whatever the case might be. You never know what could just magically fall out of the sky without any particular logic or reason, But, I guess really just, in that time frame, that year, the year of late 2015, post-Oregon to last year, after all the horrible shit that happened, I would really say, it was after me and my ex-girlfriend broke up, which was in like September. That was really just when I was like, for what? I was like, what the fuck did any of this mean? You know what I mean? I was like, I worked so hard. I could have died maybe even. Like, I was fucking putting myself through hell. I put myself through absolute misery. Look back on some of those Eggies roll-ups. Driving home after working 32 hours, driving home in sub-zero weather. My car is broken. The heater doesn't even work, so I have to even see where I'm driving because my fucking windshield is so frozen solid. I have to actually drive with the window down and look out the window and it's like negative 20 degrees. My eyes burn from the sub-zero freezing wind that I have to look through my fucking window and all the shit I had to go through, all the pain and all the problems and everything. And what did that get me, huh? What did that do for me? I'm fucking living in my aunt's basement. I have nothing. You know what I mean? I mean, yeah, I have my computer and stuff too, which is good because people told me, they told me back then, they're like, oh, just pawn your computer, whatever, for some money. And, but what did it do? What did it go? All those 100-hour weeks sometimes if I was getting called in for people that weren't showing up to the stupid fucking gas station job, my fucking ex, doing awful things to me that I don't know. I don't think she's even watching this shit anymore, hopefully. I haven't heard from one of her randomized accounts in some time, but who knows? I don't even want to, I'm not going to press it, but all the horrible, heart-crushing, soul-crushing bullshit that I dealt with, and it goes to what? Now, in the last year, things have been pretty nice. I've been able to talk to a lot of cool people on the internet. I have fun making the YouTube videos. I have fun making the music. I got to do fun, cool things, and that's all great, you know what I mean? Is it a sustainable long-term career? I would say very unlikely, but the thing is I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't like to come off as like what's the word? A deadbeat, who's just living it with a relative and basically contributing nothing. Which, I mean, because I have contributed some things. I do contribute around the house. Lately it hasn't been so much because of my bad foot. It's hard for me to get around and do as much. But, hey, I do some stuff to try and help out around the house and, and pay my dues for living in this basement and the electricity that I use and so on and so forth. But it's like, I just haven't been able to, if I did get into another wage cucking situation, I'm sure I could probably beat myself back down and whatever and just, and suck it up and, just do whatever needs to be done. It's when you're a man, you just gotta do what you gotta do. You know what I mean? It's nothing pretty. It's nothing glorious, but you gotta do what you gotta do. But I would be lying if I just didn't say that, all that bullshit that I went through, it was like, it basically I just like stopped caring about life, essentially. Like, I don't want that to be taken the wrong way necessarily. But I was like, it was like I climbed to the top of the mountain. I reached the top of the mountain, and when I fucking went through this arduous trek, got to the top of the mountain and sucked that flag to say I conquered this mountain. It was actually turned out to be a giant inflatable balloon, and I popped the balloon, and I fucking fell down right on my stupid fucking flat, fat face. And said, oh, well, actually, no, that was just a bunch of bullshit, and it's nowhere, and I'm nowhere, and nothing, and da-da-da-da-da. So, I mean, where do I see myself in 5 years? I couldn't tell you, I don't know. I could be homeless in 5 years. It really depends, honestly. It really depends. I don't have any sort of track for the future. And even if I was wage cucking, I mean, really, it's good to have a job. It is good to have a job. You go out and you have interaction with other people, and you get outside, and and you make some money, and you pay your taxes like a good citizen. So, I mean, that's a good thing to do. That's the right thing to do. But at the same time, I'm like, fuck, I don't know. If I go and I work at motherfucking McDonald's as a fry cook burger flipper, which McDonald's still rejects my applications. I still can't get a job at McDonald's, by the way. But let's just say I did do that, and I worked there for the next 5 years flipping burgers. Is that really gonna be, put me in a great position? Because, like I said, people tell me, well, you should go back to school. I can tell you it is very, very unlikely that I will ever go to school again. First off, I can't afford that shit. I just can't afford it. There's really no way about that. But I just hate schooling. I cannot stand it. I can't stand any teachers. I've never been able to. When I go into a classroom, I feel like more I want to fight people than I want to anything else. I don't know, that's just me. That's just me. I get really just like fight or flight response, and I feel more like a fight. I just don't like people. I just don't like that sort of thing. So it's very unlikely I'll ever go back to school. And as far as trades go and that sort of thing, I have very, very bad motor skills from my autism, which people apparently believe that I don't have it, but unfortunately I do, and I'm very bad with, like, the motor skills. Like, sometimes I will just, like, lose my depth perception, and, it wouldn't be safe. Same thing with trucking. Because of that as well, I'm also not a very good driver. I have a tendency to sometimes just basically like pray that I'm not going to hit a vehicle when I'm making certain turns and stuff, because that's just how it is. Like I'm not my brain is like a hard drive with a write and read error basically, and sometimes it's difficult for my brain to like process certain things. And unfortunately, working with my hands is one thing, and also when driving is another thing. So it's like, there's not really a lot of avenues out there for me to there's nothing out there that's like, oh, I'm just going to do this one thing and that's going to be what I do. And that's how it's been since I had my first job, and that's just how it is for me. And I really don't know if that's ever going to change, to be honest with you. I mean, I don't possess any real skill outside of, people say that I sound good to listen to in a video, or some people say that I have some charisma. So if there's anything I could maybe do with that, hey, that would be super cool, and that's great. But as far as like skills go or anything like that, I mean, on one hand, I just don't see any path for me, that any predetermined or easily trekkable path, for one. And also, I just really, in my heart and in my soul, I want everybody who I know to succeed. I want everybody who I know to do well, but I just really don't have that same, my soul and heart is essentially broken from the shit I've been through in the past. Like, I don't think the same way that I used to. I don't feel the same way that I used to. That was actually part of the reason when I saw Blade Runner 2049 and I came back, and everybody was really hyped up about it. When I made my little video about it, and I didn't even really know what to say, honestly, because I liked it, but it wasn't until after I kind of saw other people reacting to it that I kind of got the full grasp of it. And I don't want this to make me sound like a chick, because that was like, chicks didn't understand it. For me, like, when I was watching Blade Runner 2049, like, my opinion of women is just so deteriorated that, like, I couldn't even fathom in the film, like, the connection between Kay and Joy. Like, I couldn't even, like, it was feeling for a woman, even if it's like how Joy was, like the hologram, or whatever. I can't even fathom, like, my soul just kind of broke. You know what I mean? Like, I can't connect a woman like that anymore, like, to a person. Like, it doesn't work for me like that anymore. So, that's pretty much just like how I feel about it. I want to keep making videos, and I want to keep doing what I do. But, if next week, if all of a sudden I was living in my car, it wouldn't really do me any different, honestly. Like, it just wouldn't. Like, I operate on a very day-to-day life basis. Like, I'm pretty much ready, if a nuclear explosion happened tomorrow and I had to, well, I don't want to be, let's just say the day after my foot is healed and I had to go and just, go live in the forest. Like, it wouldn't make me feel any different, I don't, that's just how I live my life. And maybe it's a good, well, probably not a good thing, unless, I guess, except I'm not too tied to anything, in a way, but, I don't know, maybe someday it'll change, maybe something will happen that'll change my mind about things and make things different, but it's like the way that I exist right now, maybe maybe the black pill just, cemented itself somewhere in me too strongly. I don't know what to say. But I guess hopefully maybe someday I'll find some way of making something, but for now on, I don't like to think about it at all. I don't. I try to block it from my mind as much as possible. I don't like to think about it. As long as I am not going to starve to death tomorrow, I pretty much just don't even want to think about tomorrow. I'll just keep on getting up and making a video or whatever I want to do, and then until I can't anymore. Basically, that's just basically how I feel. So, but hopefully that didn't drag you down too much. Hopefully that wasn't too of a negative episode. But people want me to, they're curious, and so I'll give you the truth, man. I don't sugarcoat it. I just try to tell you how I really feel, and that's just how I feel. So, in any case, my friends, thank you for tuning in to another episode of Eggwars. At least I can tell you this much of my future, and that is that I'll see ya in the next Egg Wars. So take it easy, my friends. We'll catch you next time.
Sounds from the void.